We are the anchors of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we discuss the queer headlines. A new survey shows U.S. LGBTQ plus identification doubles, Gen Z and millennials lead, while bisexuals are the largest group. Cultural shift signals progress for inclusivity.
The medical examiner's report confirms Benedict's death as suicide, sparking concern over LGBTQ plus student safety. Some still doubt the cause of death.
Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin signed House Bill 174, affirming marriage rights for same-sex couples. Virginia is the only state in the Deep South to do so 9 years after the Supreme Court ruling to do so.
Huntington Beach in California, a very democratic state, bans pride flags on public buildings, sparking criticism for promoting exclusion and fostering discrimination.
Celebrate diversity at the International Gay Polo Tournament in Wellington, Florida. Sponsored by Lexus, April 4th to the 6th. Fun, inclusivity, and empowerment await. After all, it is the sport of kings.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening television news, broadcasting live and available on demand, available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, YouTube, and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news, Thursday, March 14th, 2024. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens, unique in LGBTQ plus news, you will see it and hear it.
Hotspots Magazine Happening Out Television Network is a non-profit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ plus community. Our mission is to support the 11 pillars of our LGBTQ plus community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our queer culture, the Black community, Latino, lesbians and queer women, trans, student and youth, seniors, HIV and AIDS healthcare, business, social justice, and faith. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ plus nonprofit media companies in America, Hotspot Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
In 2024, our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ plus experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ plus and broader community.
Let's meet tonight's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome James Lyons IV. He is a political scientist and entrepreneur and co-founded the BLREA, a family real estate brokerage. In 2023, he established Lyons Labs to empower diverse small business owners and community leaders in navigating the evolving landscape of artificial intelligence and emerging technologies. Welcome, James.
Thank you. Happy to be back.
How's everything going?
Great.
Let's welcome Dr. Bobby Huen, a good friend. He is a certified civil and family mediator and a founder of BH Conflict Resolution Services from Hong Kong, and having grown up across the world, he can offer a queer global perspective on current events. Welcome, Bobby.
Thank you, Bobby. There are two Bobbies.
Let's welcome Jasmine Pryce Lords. This drag queen is known as the plus-size Barbie and the bearded beauty, and she is. She is the Florida mother of the iconic House of Lords. She is the current MX Imperial Sun Court of all Florida and the current Miss Pub on the Drive at large. You can catch her at many of the popular venues in South Florida, including Friday nights hosting the popular RuPaul's Drag Races viewing party at the Well in Wilton Manors. Welcome, Jasmine.
Hello, hello. Glad to be back.
Let's welcome anchor Gregg Shapiro. Gregg's 9th book, Refrain in Light, was selected for the Poetry Mutual 10 Best Poetry Books of 2023. His entertainment coverage, including celebrity interviews, runs in a variety of print and online publications. Welcome, Gregg.
I'm so Happy to be here.
And tonight, lead anchor, Bobby Blair.
And I was supposed to say that. Former world-ranked professional tennis player Bobby Blair with a victory over Wimbledon champion Pat Cash. He created the largest LGBTQ plus print media company in the United States. He is also the founder and CEO of LGBTQ Loyalty, which launched the first LGBTQ financial products on the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ with LGBT as the stock symbol for the very first time.
We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in Florida and South Florida and across America and around the world. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today. First, this evening, let's queer up USA View. New study, percentage of U.S. adults identifying as LGBTQ plus doubles since 2012. A new survey conducted by Gallup reveals a significant increase in the proportion of U.S. adults identifying as LGBTQ+. According to the survey, 7.6% of Americans now identify as LGBTQ+, up from 5.6% in 2018 and 3.5% in 2012. The survey interviewed over 12,000 Americans across all 50 states and the District of Columbia. Bisexuals made up the largest group within the LGBTQ plus population, followed by gay individuals and then lesbians. The survey revealed that younger generations were twice as likely to identify as LGBTQ plus, with over 1 in 5 Gen Z adults and nearly 1 in 10 millennials identifying as such. Additionally, women were nearly twice as likely as men to identify as LGBTQ plus. The survey noted a significant increase since 2012 in the percentage of U.S. adults identifying as something other than heterosexual. Furthermore, recent studies show that Gen Z is increasingly embracing fluid labels like queer over traditional binary labels like gay or lesbian. Irrespective of what conservatives say or do, these facts signal progress for the LGBTQ plus individuals in America and highlight a cultural shift towards inclusivity and recognition of diverse sexual orientations and gender identities. Most striking, the results demonstrate the trend that younger Americans less fearful to express sexual orientations. The scientists suggest this is not based on changes in human sexuality, but rather the desire to be more authentic and expressing their sexuality. If the trend continues, LGBTQ plus centered politics in America will change drastically and very likely in favor of the queer community. This is really great news, everyone. Greg, what are your thoughts?
Well, I keep thinking that if only the concept of safety in numbers really translated to real safety for LGBTQ plus adults. I mean, the numbers are impressive, but I don't know. It does feel like good news, but we also know it's the kind of thing that makes the Heritage Foundation, makes their sludgy blood run cold, even colder than it is. And then we have this Project 2025 to deal with. It's coming up. So it's good news, but I'm going to bring the dark cloud, if I may.
Bobby, what do you think?
I think it is a very important reminder for Gen Z and millennials that you must register to vote. I know a lot. I have spoken with some of my cohorts, including some of my very young cohorts in the activist space. Some of them are not very happy with with President Biden over a variety of issues. But what I'm going to say is this: you either choose the one guy who partially agrees with you, or if you don't vote or you vote third party, that means that you're going to find the person you hate most in the Oval Office. It is not, is it ideal? No. Should we have ranked choice voting? Should we have other parties? Sure. But we are stuck with a two-party system, and right now there are two people running for president, essentially. So please register to vote. Thank you.
Jasmine, what do you think?
I may be slightly younger, and I don't find this to be as surprising as I think it sounds. I was the only gay boy in my school, but the boys I made out with, clearly I wasn't the only one, right? I just think we're coming to a time where a lot more people are talking about it and embracing it. I think the generation of the people I went to school with are now having kids, and my generation is a lot more accepting, so they're teaching their kids to be open and honest. And I think it's just, as the world is evolving and changing, people are just admitting it more. They're more in a safe space, which is what's fueling the people, like you're saying, it's those people who are on the opposite end of that mindset who are now being so fearful, which is why they're putting so much politics and things in place in schools to kind of counteract the progressive thoughts that I think our generation is really moving.
James, you?
Yeah, I agree with a lot with what Jasmine is saying. I think also having a bit of a younger perspective, being a Gen Zer myself, we have, I think, it said we're twice as likely to identify as LGBTQ. And I think that comes from, again, there is some safety in numbers, I would say. Like for my generation, we are one of the first generations to be able to grow up with openly out queer elders. And so the influence of that, I think it makes it at least a lot more capable for someone to say, oh, wait, I'm not alone. I'm not weird or other for feeling this way. This is a normal thing that plenty of other people have experienced. And I also think, too, what's fascinating to me is the shift towards more, I guess, like umbrella terms like queer, as opposed to identifying explicitly with, gay or lesbian or bi. And I think that also speaks to my generation's shifting perspective on gender. I think because we've come to be raised with a broader interpretation of gender, labels like gay and straight are becoming a little bit less meaningful because a lot of us are questioning, like, does gender even exist, is a conversation I'm having with my peers now.
I think Hollywood has also done a really good job over the past 10, 15 years in bringing content to the table. And I remember one of the shows I thought that made a really big difference was Glee. You had so many different personalities and kids from different walks of life. And so when you have a show like that and a kid can say, that's me or that's me, I have a friend that's different, I have a friend. So I really think Hollywood has helped lead this in a very, very positive way. And I think the more programming that we see where we have diverse families, same-sex couple parents, transgender children, and I think as we develop and we see more shows like this, the kids that are actually experiencing this and the families that are sitting and watching this at home on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, as a family unit, we hope that they're all saying, you know what, it's all good, to live your truth and just get out there and be proud of who you are. And it's really nice to think that the school systems now, especially we're talking about this a few days ago in Florida, it's okay to say gay again. And it looks like we're going to have a path forward where we can at least feel comfortable that our teachers are going to have a job tomorrow and that our kids can learn about gay to some extent. Well, they said instructions weren't allowed. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
As one of the elders, by the way, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Bobby?
Sure. Next, let's queer up trans rights. State medical examiner rules Next Benedict's death was a suicide. The death of Next Benedict, the 16-year-old student from Owasso High School, has been ruled a suicide by the medical examiner's office. Next, who identified as transgender and used he and they pronouns, passed away on February 8th, just a day after a reported fight at school. His tragic death has become a focal point for LGBTQ plus activists, who argue that recent hateful legislation passed in Oklahoma has made schools less safe for queer and trans students like Next. According to reports, Next faced bullying at school due to his gender identity. Body camera footage released by police showed Next lying in a hospital bed, recounting an altercation with fellow students. The Owasso Police Department stated on Facebook that they had indications suggesting Next's death was a suicide, but they were waiting for the final results from the Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office. After this new development, Margaret Coates, the superintendent of Owasso's public schools, acknowledged Next's cause of death and urged students to seek counseling in case they are struggling with the news. On February 26th, students at Owasso High School staged a walkout to condemn a prevalent culture of unchecked bullying. Kane, one of the organizers who preferred to be identified by their first name only, highlighted the speculation surrounding Next's tragic passing. Kane emphasized bullying as a primary factor contributing to the death. U.S. Department of Education is investigating Benedict's death and will likely challenge the medical examiner's conclusion. Well, for one thing, I don't trust the Oklahoma State Medical Examiner's Office as far as I can throw them. And secondly, Oklahoma is one of the hotbeds of anti-LGBTQ legislation. Their superintendent, Ryan Walters.
Yes.
Thank you. Ryan Walters is openly Christian nationalist and literally call for persecution of LGBTQ students in their schools. He appointed Lips of TikTok.
Yeah.
Shia, whatever his
Raychick,
name.
Don't say her name.
Yeah. We're Lips of TikTok. That woman has been appointed by the state to the state library board, despite the fact that she has never stepped foot in Oklahoma. She lives in California.
Right.
Which, I don't know why someone didn't do something about that. But anyways, these people, these adults, literally encourage the bullying and persecution of LGBTQ youth in the states, in their schools. They encourage people to bully them, and I consider Nexus death a bullycide, in a term that's coined when extreme bullying leads to suicide.
Yeah.
These students should be held accountable. These bullies should be held accountable. Their parents should be held accountable, and those who encourage them on social media should also be held accountable.
So Ryan Walters, his resting bitch face and his gay haircut, he needs to lose his job as Oklahoma Superintendent of Public Instruction, a position for which he has repeatedly proven to be completely unqualified.
Also, bear in mind that Oklahoma is also the very first state to spend taxpayer money to create an explicitly religious, and in this case only Christian evangelical, of course, public school.
This is where, even in a state like Oklahoma, where organizations like we have here in South Florida are so needed, because we're one generation away from all this craziness going away. If young people can be inspired by local organizations, the young people like James, they're inspired to make change, make a difference. They start running for council. They start getting positions in government that can mitigate this from happening, or at least we have a great voice in these different departments, whether it be the health department, whether it be the HR department in the police department, or wherever it is. I think that we've got to have our older generation of people like us that are fighting so hard for this to inspire our youth to take action, get involved, become part of government, become part of policy, because then we can wake up with an era of people like James leading us, and where we're integrated in all of the moving facets, so something like this can't get traction and be historical in nature.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm going to say, not to be a pessimist on the table, but I don't know if I necessarily believe that we're a generation away. And speaking from a Black perspective, like how we're still dealing with racism, right? Y'all's generation owes me and my generation, because why am I dealing with that shit that y'all should have solved? So I also have to push back on this notion that my generation is going to change stuff. We will at our own time, at our own pace, because we have to, but we can't be relied upon, because I do believe you all have an obligation to get out there and be loud and fix this for us, to protect us from this trauma.
I think what he's trying to say is that with all the work that is being done that has already been paved years before, if it continues, your generation is set up for success to continue to grow and move us further.
I think the word is to empower this generation. We want to empower the next generation, because again, we're only one generation away from going way back to where we were in the 70s, and we're one generation away from maybe some really cool change. And I think it's the job of us in our 50s, 60s, have been around a little bit, to empower our youth, give you the tools, give you the encouragement, really, really help you feel excited about going out and doing something great, because it's going to be in your hands very soon.
Well, it wouldn't be so bad to go back to the 70s, because activism was happening then. It's the 50s we need to be afraid of going back to, and that's exactly what the Heritage Foundation wants.
I just want to end this with a note that local elections matter, because every time we turn our head away and focus on national election, which by themselves is also very important. We're not saying that national elections are not important, but every time we stop paying attention to local races, things like school boards. This has happened before. This has happened in the 90s when it comes to teaching evolution. This is in the 2000s when it comes to No Child Left Behind. And now it's about LGBTQ issues and other discrimination-related issues. Every time when we stop paying attention, we become complacent, the conservatives sneak right in and staff the board full of flag Christian nationalists and flag raving crazies, and we have to fight it all over again. We cannot stop looking at the board at this point.
A lot of work to do. James, you're up next.
Yeah, next let's clear up politics. Virginia becomes the only Deep South state to codify marriage equality. In 2015, the Supreme Court made marriage equality the law of the land, while states had laws that prohibit gay marriage on their books. 9 years have passed, and many of those states still have those laws on the books. The first Deep South state, though, changed that this week. Republican Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin signed into law House Bill 174, affirming marriage rights for same-sex couples. Introduced by Delegate Rosia Henson, the bill garnered huge support in the General Assembly. Equality Virginia's executive director, Nerissa Rahman, lauded Youngkin's decision, saying, quote, "2 years into this term, Governor Youngkin has shown leadership and inclusivity and has finally listened to his constituents. His signing of HB 174. The legislation garnered bipartisan support in the General Assembly, reflecting the widespread backing of marriage equality among over 70% of Virginians. Since 2014, same-sex couples have had the right to legally marry in Virginia, despite a 2006 constitutional amendment defining marriage as between a man and a woman. Efforts to repeal this amendment are underway, with a resolution pending in the General Assembly. However, a Senate committee delayed consideration of the resolution proposed by Senator Adam Ebbin in January. This move underscores the ongoing debate over marriage equality in the state, with Democrats holding sway in the legislative process. Nonetheless, Republican Youngkin's signing of HB 174 marks a significant step towards recognizing and protecting the rights of LGBTQ+ individuals in Virginia. So, I think one of the things that is so important about this is we have seen what happened with Roe v. Wade. We kind of all just thought, the Supreme Court settled this. We don't have to worry. And so I'm really happy to see a state like Virginia realize, okay, wait, our laws are not necessarily settled, or, our policies aren't settled by the Supreme Court, and they can backtrack. And we know it's on their agenda to backtrack. And so I'm really hoping we see more states start to follow Virginia's lead in that regard.
Well, it is a big deal for the notoriously anti-LGBTQ plus Youngkin, but I still don't trust him. I mean, he's not doing it out of the goodness of his heart, because I don't think he actually has a heart, but it does make me wonder if he's doing this like with his eye on maybe a 2028 presidential run or something.
But the thing is, Virginia is a slightly different case among many southern states. First of all, Virginia is barely the South anymore.
Yeah, well, DC suburb.
Yeah, it's a DC suburb, especially the portion that's closer to DC.
Yeah.
I mean, Virginia Beach still have the Jerry Falwell and the Pat Robertsons of the world, but the other side is not. So I don't expect this trend will actually lead downwards to other Deep South states. Bear in mind that also that Congress has to pass the Protection of Marriage Act so that the Supreme Court cannot nullify existing marriages. And also, Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito has already basically waved the big flag tell Alliance Defending Freedom, challenge Obergefell, we will overturn it for you. I mean, these people are doing everything possible. They're stopping at nothing to strip away rights of people that they don't like.
Yeah, it's a very, very concerning time when we thought maybe a decade ago we were making such great progress and there was such great hope. We really are on the verge of taking many, many steps back. And you're right, the fierce fightness and the fact that people have come out of the closet, no pun intended, on the other side to crush us, to hurt us, to set us back, to hold our kids back, is absolutely devastating. And there's just so much to do. You have any final thoughts on that?
No, I'm just really excited to see what this is going to do. I know this since I was in high school, this has been a conversation. So it's just great to see movement. And then, like you said, we need to keep our eye on it. And people it's easy to be like, okay, then I don't have to worry about it, move on to the next problem. And that's when things start to slip and you let it go. So
yeah, and I'm
really excited about that.
And I have a question for all of you, right? What can we do? Because everyone's going to say, okay, well, we have to vote. We know we have to vote, number one.
Okay.
Besides going to vote, what can we as a community do to organize, to get the message out there, to hold our elected leaders accountable when we're seeing, in this case, it's a good policy, but we have a lot of not so good policies going on. And what do we need to do to be able to push for our rights beyond just casting a ballot once a year?
So I think I have a very strong opinion on this. I think our community does a wonderful job of saying the big things. Get tested, go vote. But then what? Vote on what? We don't do nothing about education. You get tested, you find out you're positive. We don't talk anything about what the next steps are, what that looks like, how to find help, what living with that means. We don't talk about go out and get vote, but okay, cool. Vote on what? We don't teach what's happening, what these words mean, and expect people to go out and vote, and they don't know what it is. It's intimidating. So I think we need to do a better job of doing outreach and education, and this is what you're voting on. This is what this means. This is why it's important to you, and make it personal, and that way people will connect to it, and I think it'll do so much more than go vote.
That is so well said.
Yeah, I mean, outreach and education are important because I think what happens is you do get complacent, you get comfortable, but then you start seeing your rights being stripped away, and hopefully we won't get to that point. But that's the thing, you want to avoid that you want to stop that from happening. So tell your friends to register and vote. Get the word. I mean, I really think that's essential. Voting is the way to get your voice heard.
You know, I will say social media, for a lot of people, they don't like it. But for some people that are using it well, maybe we're going to educate people on having a voice. I mean, not everyone can sit at this table, but they sure can open up a TikTok account and really start voicing their opinions. They can reach out and maybe build a following of thousands of people that believe the same way they do. Maybe it's a coalition. Let's put social media and make it our friend. I mean, Barack Obama got elected because of social media. Donald Trump got elected because of social media. They're making big announcements and big changes on social media all the time. So maybe it's social media becomes the friend of the next generation that has the voice, and they don't need to be on a show. They don't need to have to do all the things we've had to do traditionally to get the word out.
And I know it's going to have a negative connotation, but maybe if we dumb down the conversation and break down, this is what this means in a way that is easy to swallow, easy to understand, because they try to hide a lot of this stuff in big words and lots of pages, so that way it's too much to worry about.
Yeah, keep it simple.
A 15-second short on TikTok may be a wonderful idea to educate. This is what this means if you're going out to vote today.
And get 1 million views. Can you imagine? You're making a difference. Jasmine, you're up next.
Alrighty then, next let's queer up politics. This popular California beach town just voted to ban LGBTQ plus pride flags on city buildings. Pride flags, a symbol of inclusivity and support for the LGBTQ plus community, have been banned from city buildings in Huntington Beach, California. According to NBC News, the decision comes after more than 58% of voters cast their ballots in favor of Measure B, which prohibits cultural flags like those representing pride, breast cancer awareness, and religious affiliations. Exceptions to the ban include city, county, state, and American flags, as well as commemorative banners for POW and MIAs or the Olympics. However, any other flag will now require a unanimous vote by the city council for display. Critics of Measure B argued that it fosters discrimination and removes crucial support for marginalized communities. Peg Coley, executive director of the LGBTQ Center Orange County, also condemned the decision, blaming the hateful majority of the city council. Meanwhile, GLAAD labeled the ballot extreme for perpetuating division and exclusion. The decision comes amidst a concerning rise in the hate crimes against LGBTQ plus individuals in Orange County, with a staggering 126% increase reported in 2022 compared to the previous year. However, this is not an isolated incident. Michigan's Hamtramck and Connecticut's Enfield city councils recently banned pride flags from public buildings. Such bans have been implemented in conservative school boards since 2020, including Utah, Oregon districts banning Pride and Black Lives Matter flags. In Iowa last year, a bisexual teacher faced suspension for displaying a rainbow flag during a presentation. So I think, once again, it seems to be the common thread of the evening. It's trying to erase and remove the visibility from, I think, like I said, we're moving forward. You said we're a generation away. And it's those people who are struggling to release that power, who are trying to change everything they can to make the next generation be fearful. And I think they're trying so hard.
Yeah. And here's the subtext of the ballot measure. It says that they're very careful with this ballot measure because it's technically neutral. So you cannot put up the pride flag, but you cannot put up religious flags. So Christian nationalist flag is out, breast cancer flag is out, whatever flag is out, except if there's a unanimous vote in the city council.
So who's going to vote against a breast cancer flag?
Orange County, Huntington Beach especially, is a particularly MAGA city council. So very much, very conservative, very prejudiced, very lips of TikTok flavored city council. And so what the trapdoor is that, yeah, we're going to unanimously vote for breast cancer. We're going to unanimously vote for Christian nationalist flags. But, any queer flags, we're just going to vote again, even with one vote. Yeah. I'm hoping that the state government in Sacramento is paying close attention and sue the living pens of them out.
Well, it's interesting because Orange County used to be a conservative bastion and stronghold, and it's becoming a little more purple than red. That's, of course, what makes this story so troubling. And that is, as Peg Coley said, a, quote, hateful majority, end quote, retains control of the city council. Hopefully, less conservative voters can, as we keep saying over and over, vote them out. So get out there and vote.
Yeah, and vote them out is the exact word. And, where is the LGBTQ Huntington Beach community in this? They should have been part of this headline that they did something really dramatic to bring notice to this awful, ruling. I understand they're not going to vote that you can't have a breast cancer awareness, but, I'm also surprised a little bit, even in Huntington Beach, California is very friendly to us. And, how in the world did Huntington Beach get upside down? It's crazy.
Orange County has always been very Orange County is the place where Reagan and Nixon comes from. Right. So Orange County, California wasn't so blue back in the day. Hell, even 20 years ago it wasn't so blue. Remember, Kevin McCarthy, the former speaker, come from California. Yeah. There was a hotbed of conservatism just outside of LA, just, in that area in Orange County. The problem is that, as the area become more progressive, some people are just digging in their heels. Extremism exists when some people are backed to the corner.
Yeah, having been in LA for 4 years and having that publication Frontiers there, was like, I would have been shocked that somebody didn't go down there and really, really cause havoc at these council meetings and to really bring awareness to this before we had to read about it after the fact. I'm very surprised by that. Even though we're saying it's somewhat of a conservative area, I can tell you one thing, West Hollywood is not conservative. There's a lot of leaders there. There's a lot of money there. And I'm just surprised somebody didn't take this lead on it and take some responsibility and not talk about it after the fact. Let's talk about it before they voted.
Yeah. But I think I want to go back to what this Bobby was saying about
between two Bobbies
about California is a blue state, but there's still these red pockets. I think this is a great reminder. Every single state in America is a purple state. We do not actually have red states and blue states. We have purple states. And if you look at any map of any state, you will see those counties. You will see your blue cities and the suburbs close to it, and then your more red rural areas, and some cities, of course, go red, but on average, that's the way the trend goes. And so I think, too, with this, again, this is a reminder that even though you might think, okay, yeah, I'm in a blue state, you still have work to be done. For sure. And this also goes back to another thing you said about focusing on local elections. A lot of Americans don't realize the majority of laws that affect your life are made in your state government, not Washington. And the United States is actually very interesting for that. If you compare us to Europe, you'll actually see for countries in the European Union, they have more laws made in Brussels than their country's capitals. But here in the US, we are actually legislatively more like individual countries because our state's governments have more say and swing in your daily life than our federal government does. It's on average about 55% of laws in your state government, 45% of laws coming from Washington that affect your daily life.
America.
Amazing. Greg, what do you have for us today?
All right, now we're going to queer up sports.
All right.
The International Gay Polo Tournament returns April 4th to the 6th. It's called the Sport of Kings. Get ready to mark your calendars because one of Wellington, Florida's most exciting events of the spring season is just around the corner. Held in Palm Beach County, the International Gay Polo Tournament is back, and it promises a weekend of vibrant fun, inclusiveness, and equality. Once again, Lexus, known for its commitment to luxury and diversity, will sponsor the 2024 GPL event, which will take place from April 4th to the 6th at the Patagones Polo Club. This colorful event celebrates the LGBTQ+ community in sports and beyond, creating a culture of togetherness and empowerment. The LGBTQ+ event is unique in the world and continues to represent the diversity of the South Florida community. The next weekend will feature a robust itinerary, including the annual Players Welcome Reception on April 4th, the GPL Polo Teeny Wigstock Party on April 5th with cocktails, light bites, and a fabulous drag show, and the main event tournament on April 6th. Players from around the world will compete in the Senators Cup and the Founders Cup. Starting at 1 p.m., the Alexis International Gay Polo Tournament welcomes everyone to join in the excitement. For more information and sponsorship opportunities, visit gaypolo.com. You don't want to miss out on this unforgettable weekend. So my husband Rick, who writes about travel and culture, he attended the International Gay Polo Tournament a couple of years ago. And when I asked him about it, he said that he remembered that there were many pretty men, lots of big hats, and a fragrance wafting through the air that was somewhat earthier than, say, Ralph Lauren's polo.
Well, it is. I mean, I can make 10,000 polo jokes about how, attrition the sport has, how, very much, the pretty lady, the scene in Pretty Lady when Julia Roberts will catch hurt.
Yes.
But it's interesting that, it's fun to know that at least we have representation in a sport that is very much pretty obscure.
Yes.
It's an affluent sport, though, and a lot of people that are in our community, it's important that we support them because a lot of those people are some of the, people that are really doing some really good work behind the scenes. You don't always know where the big checks come from. You don't always know which foundations are getting endowments, and I can assure you some of them are coming from the participants of the polo event. And I know we always enjoyed covering the polo tournament, and they always were tremendous advertisers. And I just think it's an affluent market. Yes, polo's a little bit, whatever. It's not golf, tennis, or football or whatever. But listen, I think we should all support it because those people have been relentlessly supporting us as a community as well.
That's fantastic.
Anchor on the ground. I volunteer to go
The polo team. Let me know. I'll be there.
Yeah.
Wig, I'll wear a wig and everything.
All right, James, what do you have for us today?
Yeah, so tonight's broadcast is presented by viewers like you and the generous support by Visit Lauderdale, everyone under the sun. Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church located right here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
We finish tonight's Queer News headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up the worldview. France considers back compensation to victims of anti-gay law. France's lower house passed a bill recognizing and compensating those convicted of homosexuality from 1942 to 1982 under anti-gay laws. The legislation aims to reimburse fines and compensate those imprisoned for being gay. Justice Minister Eric Dupont-Moretti apologized to the affected individuals, acknowledging the totally unfair repression. The bill, unanimously approved by the lower house, awaits examination by the Senate. The anti-gay law persisted post-Second World War, resulting in conviction of an estimated 10,000 individuals, primarily gay men. Current estimates suggest that 200 to 400 people may be eligible for compensation. The LGBTQ community is moved by this decision.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up South Florida and Florida. RIPTIDE approaches sellout for world's greatest LGBTQ plus water park party on May 31st. Get ready for the ultimate celebration at One Magical Weekend, one of the world's largest LGBTQ pride and music festivals held in Orlando, Florida. The highlight of the weekend is RIPTIDE, which will be held on May 31st at Disney's Typhoon Lagoon Water Park. DJ Polo will be one of the DJs on the main stage, and DJ Stu will be at the Bear Lagoon stage. You can dance, enjoy the water rides, lounge in a private cabana, all kinds of great fun. Thousands attend this private event, and it is the largest LGBTQ water park party of its kind in the world. Hotspot's happening out as one of the presenting sponsors of the event. We recommend you secure your spot now as it's approaching a sellout. So I suggest get to onemagicalweekend.com. Get your tickets before they're sold out, everyone.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up drag culture. The Boulet brothers, Dragula, announce National USA Tour and a bloody good time. The Boulet brothers, renowned horror host and drag icons, unveil the Boulet brothers Dragula Season 5 National Tour, featuring hosts Dracmorda and Swanthula Boulet, along with drag supermonster Neru X and finalists Blackberry, Orgotic, and Throb Zombie. The tour promises a bloody good showcase of progressive drag and modern horror, with stops in major North American cities like New York and Los Angeles. The tour kicks off in May and June, following the success of its 5th season, which ranked among Shudder's top titles in 2023. Tickets for the tour go on sale this Friday, March 15th. Fans can expect an expertly crafted and haunting experience. You can kill for tickets at livenation.com.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up entertainment. Has Kevin Hart reformed his homophobic jokes seeking new relationship with the LGBTQ plus community? This week, Kevin Hart reflected on his past controversies with the LGBTQ plus community, admitting to a come to Jesus moment after facing backlash for homophobic tweets resurfaced in 2018. Initially resistant, Hart eventually apologized for his past remarks, acknowledging the need for education and growth. Despite criticism and controversy surrounding his apology journey, Hart now emphasizes the importance of learning and evolving from past mistakes. He talked in the Wall Street Journal magazine's Spring 2024 men's fashion issue about insights into his personal growth and understanding. Is Hart trying to connect to the LGBTQ plus community? That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience watching this live LGBTQ plus news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of the Hotspots magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Bobby Blair, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters and news anchors tonight, including James Lyons IV, Dr. Bobby Huen, Jasmine Pryce Lords, and Gregg Shapiro, we will see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ plus worldwide audience, we wish you a good night.
Good night.